Testing. Oh, that worked. All right. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our celebration of service here at Rotary. My name's Tracy Ivanovich, and it's still Tracy Ivanovich, and I'm excited to be your president. So, thought for the day. I have two thoughts today. Happy April. May the warmer and longer days fill you with joy. And secondly, as I was walking up here, how blessed are we to have such a beautiful building? And yes, I'm biased, Dad. And Hank's not even here, but my gosh, the artwork in this building is absolutely unbelievable. So take a moment as you're walking around. While it may be a little bit of a hike to get to the third floor, you get to see a lot of beautiful paintings. And on that, I will ask Mr. Sims to come forward and give the reflection.
Hello, everyone. I'm constantly warning Tracy that you got to be careful giving a microphone to a Baptist politician, and that is me. So we'll just let that go. To get this started, one of the things I like to say when we get started is that today is a good day to have a great day. Now, how many of you out there, now don't fool me now, how many of you out there feel the same way? Today is a good day to have a great day. Now, the topic of this reflection, and as we understand, it's to be positive reflections on our club, and I'll get to that. I'll get to that. But my topic today is DEI, and but be thank you. But before we get into all of that, I just personally want to say that. And you all are aware of this, with all of the executive orders and the policy changes and the dismantling and the elimination of a lot of opportunity programs, I'll just call them opportunity programs. And that's from the federal and state government. And they're rolling back what I feel is some equity progress. So it's taken years to get to where we are, and it's like been rolled back. I find that debilitating, for lack of a better word. And not only that, but in my opinion, these moves are creating more chaos, more conflict, more polarization across our entire nation and state. Now, one reason why I felt compelled to talk about that is many of you know that I'm a member of NAACP, Monroe County. In fact, I'm the president. That sounds like a commercial, then. But the NAACP is over 100 years old. It's the oldest civil rights organization in this country. And our local branch has been here about 55 years. And I know many of you may or may not think about this, but a lot of the negative impacts from all of these rollouts and all this other stuff is impacting even us here in Monroe County. So I just felt compelled to share that with you. NAACP, obviously, we are inherent DEI. And that'll be about the last time I use those acronyms, but we're inherently part of that. But that's our mission, is to eradicate racial discrimination. You see, so why would anybody want to have negative impacts on a group that's trying to do good things for the community? I haven't figured it out yet. Now, the good part. DEI, and I said that was the last time I'll use it, and it probably will be, but how does that affect Rotary and the positive impacts with our club, not only our club, but our district, and even Rotary International? And I mentioned earlier that I'll stop using DEI. One of the reasons is because at this time in our lives and throughout our country, people use that term DEI to complain about things they don't like. We don't even think about what it means anymore. I just heard not too long ago, there was this horrific plane crash and helicopter. And then all I heard from the press release is that was Biden's DEI traffic controllers. And I'm like, oh my. Oh my. So one way I think to rectify that is that when we talk about this, let's use the entire term. Let's say diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's really hard to be messed up and misunderstand when you if you're literate, it's hard to misinterpret that. And it makes you, if you think about what you're saying, I think it has a positive impact. Now, with our club and what we do here, we have, and I'll first of all go back to when I first became an organizational member, and that's when Aaron Davis was the president of this club. And he invited us in, and we felt welcomed. We were invited. I knew a lot of folks here already, but it was a real good thing. So we're always grateful for not only Aaron, but each and every president and leader since that time has been welcoming to us as an organization and our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts and initiatives. Now, why I say that is years ago, this club initiated a resolution that went up the chain and ultimately, correct me if I'm wrong, was adopted by Rotary International. So that lets me know that Rotary International values the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's a lot of work going on locally with ex-Governor Sue Wright and Lance Eberly at the district level. That tells me we come down a little bit more. We value what the impacts are of that. Here at this club, I remember we first started. If you all remember, it was DEI and B. We added the B for belonging, and we thought that was important. One of the things, and I'll just break it down real quick as the pastor say, as I hurry to my seat. When I look at diversity, equity, and inclusion with our club, this is what I see. When you look at diversity, we first started talking about this as a way to not only increase our membership, but to be more responsive to the community. It was an opportunity for us to gather, learn of each other's different lived experiences, and therefore get to know each other better. Now, when you think about equity from a club level, not only do we get a seat at the table of folks that are now new members and new invitees, but there's opportunities for leadership positions and opportunities and chance to have an impact on club development. See, that's not window dressing. That's just not like, come join us. No, we put you to work. This is a service above self club, and that's what we do. And you feel like you're a part of it. And lastly, with the inclusion part, I mentioned we started with the B for belonging. But what we emphasized when we first started organizing things was to be inviting and welcoming. And would you all think that we've accomplished that to this point? And that's what we want to do. If you are invited and you're welcome, and then we put you to work and you know the good you're doing in this community, then you have to do good things. And that ends my reflection today. And thank you all for listening to me. Don't use DEI. Say diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
So we were going to do happy dollars today, but Jim ran a little long and I'm going to charge him $5 for every DEI that he said. No, just kidding. And with that, Cindy, if you would come forward and introduce our guests, both here in the room and online. And while you're coming up, I just want to acknowledge, Michael, you're going to have a tough time working the crowd with the microphone. It's tight in here today.
Hi, if our guests will please stand when you're introduced so you can be properly welcomed. We have Doris Sims, a guest of Jim Sims. And Bill Milliken, who's from the Portland Rotary Club. Amber Shride, who's a guest of our speaker. Chris Pelton, a guest of Steve Wicks. And we have two Rotaracts. We have Yaya Kader and Sabina Afudal. Welcome to everyone. And if you are interested in being a part of Rotary, please just talk to someone at your table. Thank you very much.
And Joy, do we have anyone online?
We do not have any special guests online, just our Rotarian group.
All right, thank you. And I just want to take a moment on Bill because I'm going to share a little tidbit. Bill, I actually ran into downstairs when I was going to get a Diet Coke. He's like, "Isn't this where at the Frangipane room?" He's like, "Isn't this where Rotary meets?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I thought he was like somebody attending the conference down there. I'm like, "Yeah, if you want to point people up, we're in the Georgian room, 2 floors up." And he goes, "No, I was here last year for the conference, same conference I'm at here this year, and I'm a Rotarian from Maine, and I'd like to attend again." I was like, "Well, come on up." So it's awesome that we have someone who actually came to our meeting from Maine. So he must be the Mr. Rotary from Maine, like Jim Bright is for us. All right. And now we'll talk about birthdays. We have quite a few birthdays and anniversaries. Jeff Bradley's birthday is the 2nd. Carol Ann Hostler just had hers on the 30th. Sandy Keller and Steve Moberly are today. Happy birthday. Sarah Laughlin tomorrow. Lynn Schwartzberg on the 4th. And John Zodi had his on the 31st. So happy birthday. Anniversaries. Okay, we have some serious timelines on this one. So hold on. We got Monica Croner, 35 years. Christina Swanson, 36 years. And our greeter who just went to the middleweight luncheon, Charlotte Zitlow, at 37 years. That's some pretty serious time. In addition, happy anniversary to Whitney Cordoba and Tiffany Nichols for 1 year and Suze Gamblieri for 7. That's awesome. And with that, Sarah Laughlin, where are you? There you are. You had a couple announcements.
This is about district grants, present and future. So first of all, a couple weeks ago, I reported on Joe Lamantia's project to build the fanciest bike rack ever in the world. Now he's a little bit short of license plates that he needs to cover the frame. And he wants license plates that are not embossed. You know, many times the letters are sticking out a little bit. He wants the kind that are just flat. He's going to use the back of it. So he's looking for a piece of flat aluminum is really kind of the bottom line. So if you have an old license plate collection hanging around in your garage, let me know because we'd love to, if then you're willing to contribute and we'd love to have them. The second thing is the Community Service Committee meets today, right after Rotary. I think we'll meet right over here at this table that's pretty clean. And we are in the middle of choosing next year's district grant application. We had 5 applications, so stand by for more information.
All right, that's great. 5 applications is phenomenal. Thank you, Sarah. And now we'll have one of our special ceremonies. I would ask Steve Wicks, Jim Bright, and Judy to bring up the satyrs. We're going to do a induction ceremony for new membership.
Don and Melinda Sater, on behalf of the club board and membership of the Bloomington Rotary Club, it is our great pleasure to welcome you as the newest members of our club. We look forward to the fellowship that we will share, as well as your participation in club projects that make our community, club, country, and world a better place. Though Rotary is not a political organization, Rotarians are vitally concerned with good citizenship and the election of effective leaders to public office. While Rotary is not a religious organization, it is built on those highest principles that have served as a moral compass for people throughout the ages. Rotary is an organization of business, professional, and community leaders pledged to uphold the highest ethical and moral standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and peace can be achieved when people work together and uphold the Rotary motto of service above self. Rotary activities exemplify the partnership, respect, and generosity that one would expect from people who believe they have a responsibility to help others.
I get to induct the first of the two. And it's a great honor to do this because we've wanted them in this club for a long time. Melinda Cedar lived her first 14 years in Terre Haute, and then her family moved to another planet called California. I like California. My husband came from California, so it's okay. Yeah, yeah. You're right. She loves that planet as it is where she met her best friend and husband, Don Cedar. She parlayed her early love of photography and graphic design into her first jobs, plural, as a newspaper photographer, photo studio manager. It's hard to say. It was cool work. Unfortunately, not a cool paycheck, so additional jobs were needed, and her skills expanded as she worked gigs in construction, food service, shipping, and as environmental lab tech, to name just a few. Jack of all trades. Luckily, California's higher education system provides the ability to go to college in the evening. And after 11 years of working full-time and taking classes part-time, Melinda graduated with a BA in environmental studies. Once in Bloomington in the 1990s for her husband to go to grad school, Melinda became the director of the Recycling Processing Center for the Solid Waste District. She developed the materials for the arts program and eventually having the education and marketing tasks added to her responsibilities. Melinda handled the business plan for starting Worldwide Auto Service, WWAS, and was in charge of the company's marketing and community outreach. The first years of WWAS community outreach were dedicated to helping start the Wonder Lab Museum. As daughters, Aubrey and Kate, we know Aubrey well, became involved in theater, the construction minion phase of Melinda's community outreach began. First with the BPP summer program, then helping Cardinal Stage Company with building, catering, and marketing. Then as an indentured parent volunteer, poor thing, helping with prop and set construction at Bloomington High School South, and also a few shows as prop master for Constellation Stage. In 2023, Melinda and Aubrey co-founded Off Night Productions Theater Company, a local women-led nonprofit whose goal is to provide theater for everyone every night. And their computer tag is offnightproductions.org. Now, Melinda still has time, so she enjoys hiking, photography, travel, gardening, biking, making stuff, race walks, fostering kittens, thrift stores, and most of all, hanging out with her fabulous family, the future Rotarian Don and Aubrey and Kate. Welcome.
Thank you, Judy. And so as you heard, Don and Melinda came here from California in the early 90s so Don could attend grad school at IU. In California, Don worked as a master's automotive technician specializing in German cars. After they met and married, Don and Melinda worked full-time during the day and attended college at night. And after earning a double major in math and computer science from Cal State Sacramento, Don was offered a scholarship and teaching assistant position at good old IU. So after studying theoretical math problems at IU, Don found he much preferred addressing problems that could be solved in days rather than in decades. And he really missed interacting and getting to know his customers in the automotive world. So in 95, 30 years ago, Don and Melinda teamed up to open Worldwide Automotive Service right here in Bloomington And in 2009, they built what arguably is the greenest automotive building in the region. Worldwide Automotive has won local and state environmental awards, as well as the Chamber of Commerce's Small Business of the Year. By the way, they still own that building, but a couple months back in February, they sold the business operations to their general manager, Paul Miller. Now, Don has served on many automotive advisory boards and has assisted a wide variety of local nonprofits, long list. And as Judy mentioned, they have two wonderful daughters, Aubrey, who was Rotary District's 2018-19 Global Scholar, receiving a $40,000 grant toward a master's degree in Arts and Culture Administration from King's College, London. Younger daughter, Kate, is the family scientist and works at Wonderlab. So welcome, Don and Melinda, and back to you, Steve.
I confess, I've never done this before, so. And I don't have anything in my handout that says what I do next.
We need to pin them.
Do we need to pin them?
Nothing like an audible here. And actually I did that because you guys should have gone first and then you would follow up, but that's okay. So with that, we want to welcome Don and Marilyn into the club and pin them. Sorry, Melinda into the club. I did that with another group, into the club, and we should have pins. Did Natalie give those to you all? Here she comes. All right. In our close knit, we will pin you and take pictures and welcome you. Would everybody stand and rise and welcome them into our club?
Try to get the pin.
Oh, yeah.
I missed that. Okay, here we go. Let's look at Sally here.
Okay, I'm mechanically mind. There we go. All right, I will push it through and then you can put that on it.
All right.
There you go. All right.
It took her 30 years because she was asking us to join when we opened the business. But we realized that if we had joined then, Aubrey couldn't have gotten the scholarship. So procrastination wins sometimes.
Thank you, Steve, for that last minute help with there. And sometimes the best things are worth waiting for. So we're proud to have you. And on that, I am very pleased to introduce our speaker today. Tia Arthur has been the executive director for CASA since this past November. She began her career with a focus on connecting with children back in 2007 through various capacities with DCS investigations, the Monroe County Youth Shelter, and as an actual CASA walking the talk. I find that very important because I'm a CASA. And so having supervisors who actually have been there, it doesn't get any better. In 2012, she leveraged her learnings and passion and joined as a CASA supervisor. And as I said, I can attest she's an excellent one. She has been able to leverage her creative spirit for the benefit of our community by introducing the first courthouse dog program housed by the CASA program in the state, which helped children to get comfortable in the courtroom. When you think about it, it's not an easy task. When you think about these kids going in and they've got parents who've had abuse potentially, drug addiction, et cetera, and a judge is looking down at them, asking them to talk, it's incredibly uncomfortable, incredibly unsettling. And bringing Jordy, the dog, in really helped put them at ease. So I thought that was amazing. And of course, you raised Jordy up until the time he passed. So thank you for doing that. She's also co-founded the Monroe County Link Alliance, which is an organization that seeks to educate professionals in the community about the intersections of abuse in family systems. It includes child abuse, animal abuse, intimate partner violence, and elder abuse. These are not easy topics, obviously. Yet Tia's realistic, empathetic, and passionate approach always allows those who work with her to and for her to enjoy their jobs as they work alongside her. Again, not an easy task. She is always bringing a sparkle to every situation, a gift in any circumstance, and a superpower in her role with the CASA program. I, for one, was super thrilled to see Tia become the executive director. And with that, Tia Arthur.
Thank you for having me here today. Oh. Asked me to come and speak. Can everyone hear me? Okay. I'll stay close. Oh, is it this? Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Just put your hand up if you need me to. Pardon me. Michael had asked me to speak with you today, and he said, I need to know what the name of your presentation is going to be. So I told Michael I would like for the name of this presentation to be Monroe County CASA, moving from the courtroom to prevention. And I'm going to talk with you a little bit initially about what CASAs do and the impact that they have on the lives of children in this community, but also go a little bit more into the prevention piece that we're looking at CASA and why it's so important for our community. So, oh, I'm doing this. You're not doing that. Thank you. I first want to express gratitude. Back in 2023, you honored Steve Galvin, and we were so grateful to be recipients of your donations. And I think a lot of you are familiar with the CASA program, but for those of you who are new members, congratulations, by the way. So CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. And a court-appointed special advocate is a volunteer, a member of this community who is trained and they learn how to advocate for children by completing a training. They learn how to gather information about that child's circumstances and to make recommendations to the court about what's in that child's best interest. So these children are involved with the court system due to abuse or neglect on the part of their parent or their caregiver. So essentially what a CASA is going to do in their role by representing the child's best interest, they are going to write a report to the court. They are going to attend hearings. They are going to work with the Department of Child Services, that's the state agency that's involved with the family, to come up with the best resolutions for the children involved in the case. If needed, they will explain the court proceedings to the child. So if, in the state of Indiana, if you're 14 or older, you are required to attend court proceedings unless there's a reason why you shouldn't. And then also monitor that case, monitor the services that the family is being offered in order to be reunified with their children, in order to address that issue or the reason why they're involved with the state. We also have another volunteer opportunity that came really out of the necessity because we do have a wait list, and we weren't during the pandemic, we were concerned about what was going on with those children because there were less eyes on them. Obviously, the service providers and the Department of Child Services wasn't always in a position to be visiting the kids in the homes that they are placed in. So we developed the Child Visit Monitor program. And the Child Visit Monitor is someone who visits the children wherever they're placed once a month and checks in on them and their well-being, see if there are any needs while they're on the wait list to get a CASA. So it's a different, it's a Absolutely, still an advocate role, but a little bit more limited, which is also helpful because not everyone has the time to be able to dedicate in that full advocacy role. So what are the requirements to be a volunteer? You've got to be at least 21, valid driver's license, have flexibility to be able to attend court hearings. Those occur once every 3 months or so. And to complete our application, we have that online and an interview. So those are our main requirements. So the CASA volunteer, when we interview you, we're asking you, we're being very transparent. We want you to be on that case with that child or those children throughout the life of the case. So the kids really experience a lot of turnover within the case. They might change therapists a couple of times, things like that. Their case managers with the Department of Child Services might change 6, 7 times. And so we want to really be that one constant that is in that child's life. We don't want to be a part of that turnover. So we want to make sure that our volunteers are willing to commit to the life of that case, which can sometimes last 1, 2 years. So that's very important. We offer a 30-hour training. I think we're pretty good at it. And we really teach you the foundation of what you need in order to serve in that role. So anybody from any profession, any walk of life can come in and learn how to be a CASA. You don't have to have experience in the field, just really a desire to want to help children. And the commitment is usually about 10 hours a month, give or take, depending on what the timeline is for your case. Typically, if you have a hearing coming up, you're writing a court report, and that does take a little bit longer. I'll be honest with you, I'm a CASA on a couple of cases, and it does take time to write that court report. Although Tracy probably has some tips for me for how to streamline that. But but it's very important because that report is what you're letting the judge know the things that you think are most important, how things are going, and those recommendations are what is in the child's best interest. So you don't have any policy that's driving you other than this is what I think is best for the child. So it is important to take time with that report. The child visit monitor, that role requires a lot less of a time commitment. The training itself is 6 hours. That's 3 hours over 2 days. And we ask that you take at least one case, similar to a CASA, but help facilitate when the CASA does come on the case to help facilitate that new person that's going to be involved in that child's life. Oftentimes the child visit monitor, especially when the wait list is long, they can be visiting those same kids for several months. I'm thinking of one case right now where they've been visiting the same kids for 8 months. So you can imagine when they get their CASA that the CVM is really going to want to facilitate that, that changeover. So here are our current numbers. Right now, we have 58 children on our wait list to get a CASA. We have 73 active volunteers. And that does not include our child visit monitors. We have about 20 child visit monitors. So they're still very important. But this slide just the formatting looks better this way, I guess. But our CVMs are just as important. I'll tell you that. And we have currently our 73 advocates are involved with 264 kids as of today. So while we are very low in our volunteer numbers, the lowest we've been since I've been at CASA, almost 13 years, we're still doing a lot. We're serving a lot of children. I was just talking with the director in Evansville in Vanderburgh County, and they have 790 kids on their wait list, and they have 100 volunteers. And they're serving 290 kids. So I can tell you, I could tell you, Tracy, CASA, that we are small but mighty. but we do need more CASAs. And that's just the reality of what we're facing right now. My goal is to reduce and get rid of that wait list because every kid should have a voice. So I'm going to share with you. Tracy mentioned that stories are good, sharing information in that way can be really compelling. And I couldn't agree more, but I thought I would let this video tell the story. So if you, some of you might know longtime resident Bob Althauser. Bob and Mary sadly just lost Mary, but Mary was also a CASA, but Bob Althauser also a CASA, and this was actually one of Bob's cases. I thought I would show this as a way for you to see the impact that one CASA can have on a child's life.
Okay, Colton, if there's somebody else out there that's in your shoes, that's trying to look for help, where would you tell them to go?
Definitely go to CASA. I've been to every person in CPS, I've been to youth shelters, I've been to court even, and CASA is the only one that's actually pulled out and been able to help me get to where I am today.
And so you think it's because of CASA that you are where you are today?
I know it's because of CASA. When I was about 3, 4, 5, I woke up one day and I was hearing the yelling, and whenever I went out into the living room, I seen my mom and dad fighting. They were on the floor just yelling at each other. And I witnessed my dad being pulled away by cops, and after that, just everything went to hell. I mean, my biological mom, she made us live in fear. She was very mentally and physically abusive throughout my entire life. I ran away 15 times. Whenever I returned to my biological mom, she always put me into the youth shelter. I was there for all 4 weeks that you could possibly go there, and was returned there, and the fighting returned. It was worse even.
When you ran away, where did you run to?
I ran to my grandma's
Every time?
Every time. I ran away for help. I ran away to be heard and to have somebody there who actually understood what it felt like. No matter what I did, no matter what I said, CPS always pushed for unification, which means that I would go back to my biological mom, the place I've been trying to leave for over 10 years. No matter the evidence I give, what I say, what I do, it was always, this is what we gotta do.
And Bob was the one who?
Bob was the one who finally showed them that it's not in my best interest or my biological mom's for me to go back there. It wasn't safe for me and it wasn't safe for her.
Tell me who Bob is and how you met Bob.
Bob is my CASA worker. Bob understood me a lot. He knew what I was going through, especially because he was with me whenever I was real little too.
So he was with you the first time you were in CPS?
Yep, he was the one who got me through everything that I was going through then. Same thing, but only it was worse now. But then I finally had somebody in my corner who actually understood what it felt like to be in my situation. Not many people can actually comprehend what I'm saying whenever I mean that I had it rough. And it's not like I broke my phone. I mean, every day was a struggle. And because of Bob and the family that I had in my corner from my dad's side, that's why I'm still alive. And I've been in that courtroom more times than I can count, which isn't good by my view, but because of Bob being in there and being by my side, I finally had a point to get through. I finally had somebody who understood and was able to help me tell them what they needed to hear to make things better for me. What was in the best interest of me. I finally had somebody who was able to get out that what they were trying to do was not going to help anyone, especially me, in the long run. But Bob's the reason I'm still here.
How is your life different now?
Now I am in a better school, in a better home. I have clothes, I have food, gained weight finally. I mean, whenever I was with my biological mom, I was 14 to 15 and 77 pounds. I was skin and bones, and now now I've got fat to jiggle, but Bob's got me to where I never could have got by myself. And even though I wasn't really by myself all the time, it felt like it.
If it wasn't for Bob, where would you be today?
If it weren't for Bob, if I wasn't dead, I'd have still been at my biological mom's, fighting the same fight that I fought for over 10 years.
Now, where do you see your life going from here on?
From this point on,
Yes.
I see me actually being able to get through my life. I feel like now I have more chances to get a job, to have a career, to get through my education, to go to college. I mean, because of what Bob's done and everything else, that I finally have a life that I'm able to live and to exceed in.
Tell me what CASA has done for you.
CASA's given me the chance to have a life that I didn't have then. Because of CASA, I now have a good home. I now have food to eat. I have family that I didn't have before. It's good to be home finally.
So, very impactful, and that's just one child. We have hundreds of kids in this community who are involved with the system, and we have kids who need someone to be their voice. So we need volunteers. With that, we have lots of different opportunities to be involved, and if you're not in a position to be able to be a CASA advocate, consider being a CVM advocate. Visiting kids is my favorite part of being a CASA, because they say the funniest things, and you just never know what kind of visit you're going to have, and so it's always really nice. Changes up my day. Become a member of our board of directors. We are looking to recruit members for our board. Be a partner in prevention. So in talking about prevention, we know that through the research that child abuse occurs. There are risk factors under which we have identified that it does occur, and one of the pieces that we believe can help put us out of a job, really, would be to prevent child abuse. And so today is the first day of Child Abuse Prevention Month. I'm wearing my blue ribbon to create awareness that we do have abuse and neglect occurring in our community and that we can do something about it. Additionally, being a partner in advocacy, we're also looking to try and create new ways to bring in volunteers. And one of those ways includes asking businesses to include volunteering, being of service to our community within their benefits package for employment. So if you are familiar with any business or company that you think would be interested in including that in their benefits package, I would love to talk with them. Please let me know. So along with the prevention piece, we have a couple of programs that we are rolling out at CASA. One we've already started. It's called Developing Capable Young People. And that is a parenting education course, but it really is truly for anyone who's working with youth in this community, or anyone who has a grandchild who you're not really sure, how to really communicate with them. It can also be helpful with understanding and learning more about those younger relationships. Another program that we're going to be rolling out along the lines of prevention is it's called Stop It Now, and we'll be training people in the community to recognize, understand sexual abuse, and how to keep ourselves safe as youth workers working with children. So those are a couple of the things that we're doing around prevention. If you're interested, we brought some blue ribbons today. If you are interested in taking one, please do and wear it in the month of April. If anyone asks you about it, then you know what to say. It's a problem in our community and we need to prevent it. And we also have cards that have those prevention, the education pieces. If you're interested in having it, your business or an organization have a basket of cards out with ribbons, please let me know. I would be open to dropping them off. We have people dropping them off the next 2 weeks to kind of create that awareness and also spread information about how to prevent child abuse. I think that's all I have. Any questions? Yes.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sorry, I stole it from you. Got it first. Thank you so much for bringing this to us today. We've heard a lot about CASA and for doing this incredible work in our community. It's inspiring and so important. My question centers around how CASA interfaces with MCCSC and CPS and how that relationship works. My wife is a counselor at Bloomington South, which is considered one of Indiana's best high schools, yet she has 300 kids under her purview and spends 90% of her time with 10% of her children. She'll say the high performing and the ones the most at risk. And most of her day not doing anything that has to do with counseling kids, including proctoring exams and sitting in lunch duty and all kinds of stuff. So oftentimes her only recourse when something is really bad is to, well, first wait for it to get really bad and then call CPS. And as we heard from Colton, oftentimes that agenda is just to reintegrate to the family. So how do you interface with that, and how does that cycle improve?
That's a great question. And I don't know that we have the time to really get it, delve all the way into that. But what I can tell you is that our CASAs, when I look at the other programs in the state, we are so focused on education. That is a passion that our CASAs have. Education is important, and we know why. We know why education is important. So our CASAs are working with the teachers. They're going to the IEP meetings. They are fully immersed in what's going on with their education, what's going on at school. So I can tell you, and that's ingrained in our training, that education piece is so important, and to let the judge know how they're doing in school. And then with the Department of Child Services, we do, we do have a relationship with them, and we understand that they are always turning over. We understand that they're very busy. We encourage our CASAs to kind of be the source of information for that case manager from the Department of Child Services, because they might have 15 cases and our CASA has 1 case. And so if you can, as CASA, be the catalyst to get the attention of the case manager, hey, I want to let you know something that's going on at school, or I want to let you know what the teacher told me, and to be that source of information, because the case managers, they don't always have the time to really delve in like the CASA does. And I think the CASA, it's in their name, they're an advocate. And so if they have a concern and they want to bring it to the attention of the case manager, they can absolutely do that. And so that's how we encourage. I'm not going to tell a case manager how to do their job, but we can certainly empower the CASA to loop the education piece in and prioritize that, just like we prioritize everything else in that child's life.
Are there more CASA volunteers than CPS case workers?
Yes. Yes. Last I heard, which was last week, they were down 11 case managers, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if the 11 case managers are meant to have 17 kids on their caseload, that's a lot. Yeah.
Thank you for your talk. I'm curious about what's in the child's best interest. Are there guidelines for what that looks like? Can a different CASA have a different view of what that is based on their personal life experience? And how is that mitigated so that there's a true balance of what's in a child's best interest? I can just picture lots of scenarios that would be concerning.
That's a great question. And we do a lot of training around bias, personal bias, and how do you identify what your personal bias is? For example, our minimum standards for living. There's a state minimum standard. It's not necessarily maybe our personal standard. So how do we set our personal standard aside and focus on, well, the law states this. So we have to look at that. We have to, that's what our measure is. That's what the parents' measure is. And so we do a lot of training around that. But when you talk best interest, that is a CASA who knows that child and their circumstances well enough to be able to say, I know all of this, so I know this is what's in their best interest. So it means you're getting the education piece, you're talking with the parents, you're talking with all of the service providers, everyone who's involved with that child's life in order to really get a comprehensive picture. So then you can say, I know this child well enough to know, Judge, I want this, I want that. This is what's in their best interest. So if you look at statute, there's no definition, right? It seems odd, but there is no definition of child's best interest or best interest principle. But that is what that's what we're tasked with. And so we do a lot of training around that. That's why it's 30 hours, but it's the best 30 hours. It's a great training. We have a lot of speakers. We have a lot of experts in this community. And so I think it's a really great training. So, yeah.
One last question.
In New York, I was a volunteer advocate for people in hospice and also people who live in adult homes and senior Alzheimer's centers. And the families were always, of course, very welcoming and loved to see us. But the thing that has kept me from volunteering for CASA is don't the parents resent you?
So I will say there is a lot of work done around building rapport with parents, with the children. And you would think that, yeah, that doesn't seem like that would be a great relationship. That seems like that would be set up to be more adversarial. However, if you're coming in and your focus is on what's best for the child, you have to assume, we're going to come in and assume that you want what's best for your child too, as the parent. And so sometimes that may not mean the same thing. It might be something different than what the parent wants, but we are coming from a place of facts and evidence that support whatever that recommendation is that we have. We have CASAs who still get phone calls from parents, even years after the case has closed. And I know Tracy was just talking about, so I can tell you that while it seems like, oh, wow, I would think that maybe I'm the last person that they would want to talk to, that's not necessarily true. They want you to know what they think is best for their child. And if you're the CASA, you want to hear from them. This is your child. You're the expert on your child, nobody else. What do you think is best for them? I want to hear from you. So they don't have a lot of control in these cases, which can be very frustrating. And so just allowing them to be the expert in what's best for their child as they see it is really important. It's really important, especially at the beginning when you're really trying to understand the case, learn who everybody is, and coming in from a perspective of, this is not, I'm not seeing this as a negative. I'm seeing you as the person that I really want to talk to better understand this child. So, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tia. Is this okay? I will just follow up on the bias comment. The other thing that helps us is supervisors. And I know one of my first issues as a CASA was education, how we raised our children and the grades I was seeing on my CASA kiddos. And I about freaked out because there were F's and D's, right? And it takes a while to get, and you probably even remember this conversation because I think I'd had it with you. It takes a while to understand that they're doing everything they can. And so you have, every situation is different from the kiddos to the parents, et cetera. Some parents are going to be right there with you along the way. Some parents you have to help bring along. And that's part of your job as a CASA, is to get them to understand the why. The why is important. And sometimes you're not going to, a lot of times you're not going to know the why. And that's where the supervisors really come in to help you talk it through and understand why you think what you think. And maybe it's right, maybe it's not. So you'll find these switch. It's actually very rewarding. In most cases, there's some that are frustrating. But at the end of the day, I think Colton's video really summed it up nicely. So with that, we will be doing a donation of $100 for the quarter to the Bloomington Symphony in honor of your program. And I want to acknowledge our executive assistant, Natalie Blaze, for all the work she does for us. Charlotte Zitlow, who was our greeter. Cindy for stepping in and doing the introductions. Joy, as always, our Zoom host. Excellent job. Jim, for the honesty and integrity you brought with the reflection. Jim Bright for reporting. You are doing it this week. And then Michael for working this room, because this is a tough room to work with the microphone and camera. And Sally for photography. Elizabeth will be here through the end of April. So the question for those online was, isn't this Elizabeth's last meeting? We get to keep her through April, and then she's going to, I believe, Vermont. Yeah. Yeah, it'll still be winter up there, but that's okay. And then Isaac, thank you as always for the audio and Zoom work that you've done. Next meeting will be on the 8th in the Georgian room, one floor down. Make sure you look at the art as you walk through. Hank, you missed that whole part. And our own John Weichart will be updating us on the new Hoosier themed amusement park that will be built at the Point at Lake Monroe. April Fools. It's the convention center. Just seeing if you were paying attention. And with that, for those who are able to stand, let's please do the 4-way test. For the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And fifth, is it fun?